How the implementation of DLC affects game development process. In my opinion, DLC is a double-edged sword. So before we get into it, what DLC, downloadable content or DLC, has revolutionized how we experience games. From cosmetic skins to expansive story campaigns, DLCs keep players engaged long after release. But how do they shape the game development process? Let's explore the challenges, opportunities, and impacts of DLCs backed by industry insights and data. Okay, let's start with what are DLCs? DLCs are post launch additions that extend a game's lifespan and generate revenue. For example, The Witcher 3 Blood and Wine had 30 plus hours of content, praised as a masterpiece. Those are expansion DLCs. There are multiple DLCs, which we will get into later, but first I want to focus on the expansion DLCs. How did the DLC practices start? Well, in the 80s, the first forms of DLCs came into the scene with Play Cable and GameLine. Both of these services and their accompanying hardware distributed games remotely. The Play Cable used cable TV lines and the GameLine used phone line, but they both allowed players to access games without hard copies. But it wasn't until the 90s that downloadable content as we know it today in gaming started to materialize. Total Annihilation 1997 from Cave Dog Entertainment is often cited as the first game to regularly offer DLC. There were monthly releases that added new units, maps, etc. At the same time, video game modding also took off as players themselves built on top of their favorite video games, sharing their efforts with other users. One of the pivotal instances of additional content in video game history came to the PC in 1996 with Warcraft 2 Beyond the Dark Portal, an expansion pack to the acclaimed 1995 Warcraft 2 Tides of Darkness, beginning a successful trend that Blizzard's catalog would carry through into the future. The Warcraft series is a staple for Blizzard and has helped in their rise. So, this is where it all began, the success of DLC implementations. Well, according to our interviewee Etienne Clavet from Behavioral Interactive, who's a game developer there, apparently these are how DLC decisions are made.
Many aspects of game development that will reach a point where when you're about to ship, somebody will tell you, you know what, all those JIRAs right now, all those things that we cannot do before shipping, that's going into the or more on a mindset of, okay, how much did we sell? Can we afford having a DLC? And is it good for us to have one? So that's why you see more big companies releasing DLCs and stuff like that, and less small companies. And a good example of that is like Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
If you look at Baldur's Gate 3, Larian Studio is a small company per se, but Hasbro is coming in with a big ton of money. But Hasbro wanted DLC at some point, but Larian was like, nah, it's not in our philosophy. We don't like DLCs. We're not going to do it. So there's a big mindset about DLCs that are very, very, very corporate, very big companies kind of stuff. And usually smaller companies, they will try to avoid that kind of thing.
DLC is so important. DLC content has stuck around for a reason. It allows you to expand on the worlds you build, which players get further enjoyment from. And you can earn more revenue than just a static product could offer. You're basically juicing the lemon for all it's worth. The prevalence of DLC has also led to players anticipating it either as a pre-launch offer or a post-launch staple. For example, the launch of Bandai Namco's Elden Ring Shadow of the Earth Tree is like represents how popular a DLC can be and how well it can receive from the consumers. These DLCs also can be made with like existing assets from the base video game, which is cost effective and also makes more revenue for smaller studios and struggling studios that haven't made back much of the revenue back from the base game. Depends on how successful DLCs can be. These are just the most sold DLCs in 2017 on PS4. With that said about DLCs, let me move on to the darker side of it: microtransactions. Microtransactions refer to a business model where users can purchase in game virtual goods with micropayments. Microtransactions are often used in free to play games to provide a revenue source for the developers. While microtransactions are a staple of the mobile app market, they are also seen on PC software such as Valve's Steam digital distribution platform as well as console gaming. And this is what Etienne has to say about microtransactions in general.
So microtransaction done in that term where I can grind basically those war bonds if I play enough, I can buy them. They all bring something to the world, all bring something to the experience, is great. You have always the opposite where DLC feels like a cash grab and feels like something that somebody on the corporate side, on the marketing side, on the business side just went, we're selling a lot of these, please make more of these. So at the end of the day, you sell a very good popsicle and now they're just asking you for orange flavor. And you're like, yeah, this is the same popsicle. We're just doing orange flavor now. So I understand the consumer is not liking them, but if you look at the data, they're selling. Microtransactions working. People make money out of it.
As Etienne previously mentioned, a proper monetization method has to be selected in advance before the concept phase in order for a game developer to adapt features accordingly. The first method is to sell the game with the fixed price with no additional fees. The second method is a free-to-play game with in-app purchases. The game is publicly available for anyone to download and play. It does not require any money, but certain features are locked behind in-app purchases. The third method is the DLC route, where game developers release major update to an already existing game, which provides new in-game contents. When we asked our other interviewee, Robert Cooper, a game artist at Behavioral Interactive, he had this to say.
Because obviously usually you're working with the same amount of resources to do more things, so it means that development on the main product can slow down. So it might, if you're thinking about post-launch content before you've launched the game, it can end up pushing back the release date. That's happened before. Or oftentimes, if you're in a big company, let's say the company's working on two projects simultaneously, Project B ends, the people that are working on Project B can come over to Project A to work on the DLC simultaneously. But it's always going to hamper development of the main game because you need the expertise from the people that have been on the development since the start. So I wouldn't say it always affects the development of the base game negatively, but it definitely prolongs development and diverts resources away.
The bulk of the gaming community has a very negative attitude towards microtransactions, while one part sees them as an expression of publishers' greed, the other part thinks them providing the opportunity to buy out the lack of abilities undermines the meaning of gaming competition. A small number of games are reserved only for cosmetic microtransactions, so players openly show their dissatisfaction more and more. But some of them have meaningful value because the company might not have had the choice to not add them, as they might have overestimated the budget, or they are trying to recuperate the cost of making the base game, or they might just be a indie free-to-play game trying to earn in whatever ways possible. So these are also affected by the livelihood of the game developers. Speaking of DLC models, there's been an uprise in subscription-based video game services such as Xbox Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, and EA Play. These have transformed how players access and consume games. For a recurring monthly or annual fee, these platforms grant users unlimited access to curated libraries of games ranging from indie titles to blockbuster franchises. This model prioritizes convenience and cost-effectiveness, allowing players to explore diverse genres without committing to full-price purchases. For developers, subscription services offer opportunities to reach broader audiences through licensing deals, though debates persist about whether this model devalues individual game sales or prioritizes quantity over quality. Platforms like Xbox Cloud Gaming further integrate cloud technology, enabling play across devices without downloads. While critics argue these services could lead to market saturation or content fatigue, my opinion on this matter is these subscription-based video game services can be developed so much in the future that these subscriptions will allow games to be played and make DLC purchases more important. DLCs have undeniably reshaped game development, offering studios a lifeline for revenue and creativity while testing their ability to balance ambition with ethics. From Cyberpunk 2077's redemption arc to Stardew Valley's community-driven updates, the industry's future hinges on sustainable practices that honor both creators and players. As AI and cloud gaming push boundaries, one truth remains: games thrive when developers prioritize passion over profit and players feel valued, not exploited. The DLC era isn't just about expanding content, it's about evolving how we build, share, and experience stories. The next level of gaming awaits, but only if we play it right.